Hello, Dashboard Dungeon Dwellers. I'm Cher McMullin, head of entertainment at Tumblr and Tag Explorer.
And I'm Lauren Shippen, professional writer who would try dragon if that was on a menu somewhere.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And this is Dashboard Diaries, a podcast for you, the folks who are in this internet bunker with us. We talk about what's going on our favorite hell site, get into what we like to call Tumblr, do fandom deep dives, and share the times when we've gone feral over a new ship. So, Lauren, what has your last month on Tumblr been like?
Well, I have been deeply enjoying being able to finally look at the Interview with the Vampire tag because I finally caught up on season 2. And so I've very much enjoyed both just like catching up with the fandom and also the hype around season 3 already, in which, slightly spoilers for an upcoming season of Interview with the Vampire, Lestat is going to be a pop star. And Cher, I don't know how familiar you are with the Interview with the Vampire fandom and the drama that has come out of this season 3 announcement.
I'm so glad that you asked, Lauren, because I had a question for you that I think ties perfectly in with this. I have not yet finished season 2. I'm a couple episodes in. So I definitely have not looked at much of the tag or discourse so that I'm not spoiled. But I did just come across on my dashboard a post about how there's a feud between Lestat and Swifties, or Taylor Swift. And I would love to know more, Lauren. Could you take us on this journey?
Yes. So, and this doesn't really spoil it. I saw this too before I had finished the season, and this doesn't really spoil anything for the season itself, because it's sort of unrelated to what actually happens in season 2.
Okay.
I guess the spoiler being that there's going to be a season 3 and Lestat is in season 3. But I think that's a pretty good guess anyway. I think, that's pretty safe to assume.
I'm not surprised, even though spoiler ahead for people who haven't watched season 1, he is ostensibly killed in season 1-ish, right?
But even at the end of season 1, we kind of have the implication of him maybe not being dead.
Right. Did he get, and it's been so long since I watched season 1, did he get in a coffin to go across the sea or something? Did I hallucinate that?
No, that's I think what I'm thinking of too. Or they were in coffins going across the sea.
And he was also
and Louis left him something that he knew would be able to heal himself.
Okay.
I think this is from my memory of season 1. I don't think that this particular bit of fandom drama affects watching season 2 at all. But AMC, after season 2 was complete, released a teaser basically of what season 3 was going to be. And it is an interview clip with Lestat that is sort of presented in a music documentary kind of way, where he's doing these series of interviews, and also intercut with that is a song, a pop song that Lestat is singing. And they've since actually released the music video for the pop song. And so the implication being that in the next season, Lestat is some sort of pop star who, is successful. And some Interview with Vampire fans took screenshots of various stills from the interview, and it's classic Lestat, right? He's being super dramatic. His he's crying, he's yelling, he's smiling, it's all over the place. And somebody put those photos on Twitter with the caption along the lines of alongside with screenshots or screen caps of Blank Space by Taylor Swift, that music video, in which there's all the same kind of expressions, right? Mascara running down her face, and Lestat's mascara smeared and all that kind of stuff. And it was basically a fan being oh my God, he would love Blank Space. This is so about him. Kind of being look, he is Taylor Swift. And for whatever reason, the Swifties took this very seriously.
Oh my God.
And then a bunch of other people who were Interview with the Vampire fans sort of started having fun with comparing Lestat to Taylor Swift lyrics, or in various eras, things like that. And some Swifties just took great offense to their Taylor Swift being compared to, in their eyes, a random white guy. And like, it was just like one of those classic internet things where like one whole side of the thing is in on the joke and the other side is not in on the joke at all. Like they just like were very seriously thinking that it was some sort of like stepping up to Taylor Swift and like trying to like, you know, like claim Taylor Swift's success for Lestat or something.
No.
And of course, then all the Interview with the Vampire fans are like, this is exactly like Lestat would love this. Like this is exactly
canon.
The kind of this is canon. And like I had a lot of fun with that. And then the other thing in the last week on Tumblr is, so I was talking to my friend Briggan the other day, who you know, of course, and who probably a lot of our listeners are familiar with. And somehow we ended up on the subject of like, when you're in school, like middle, high school, having binders, folders, notebooks that are like specific colors for specific classes. Did you do this?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So like this is like a fairly universal thing, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, Brittany and I were talking about it and we found out like, and we have like a lot of like twin brain stuff. Like we have the same birthday and we're very, very close. And we found out that we have all of the exact same colors for all of our subjects. And so of course I was like, I wonder how common these colors are for people. And so I made a poll asking people what their subjects colors were. And currently there's 3 days. So by the time that this episode comes out, this poll will be expired. But the current front runners are, what color is math is red, which is my personal color. So I feel good about that.
Yep.
Were you red for math?
I was red for math.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay. For English or like language arts, literature or whatever, what color did you have?
Blue.
Okay, so blue is what's currently winning. I had green. So a little bit of a difference there. This one was particularly fascinating to me. Social studies or history, what color do you have?
I have green for social studies or history. Okay. Oh, actually, no. Because science is obviously green. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, well, I say obviously green as if everyone is using science, green for science. But I'm trying to, like, I think social studies or history would have been like purple for me, probably. I'm trying to remember what. Gosh, it's been so long.
Purple,
yeah,
like,
I think
so
purple.
Yeah, I mean, like 12% of people so far have chosen purple. Blue was social studies history for me, but yellow is actually the most popular for that, which I thought was interesting. But
yeah,
you do say, of course, green is science. That is the most agreed upon answer of any of the polls. 63% of people so far say that green is science. I'm a yellow is science person.
Which I can see that.
I think it's just like, and then like for like, what was your sort of like elective or like other, like I did purple for mine, which actually is the most popular. 54% of people say purple.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is such important discourse,
right?
Lauren.
I'm really collecting the important data.
This is the data that people need. Also, I love this as just like a concept of something that you don't even think about, but has such universality. Like such an everyday. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because like, yeah, it's like green, of course, does make sense for science, right? But like for me, green is English because green is my favorite color and English is my favorite subject. And so it's like, valid. And then I see other people being like, and like, I don't really love the color red and math was my least favorite subject. So it was red. Whereas other people I see being like, oh, red's my favorite color and I hated math. And so I chose red to make it better. Like, it's always like diving into the tags is like a really interesting way to sort of like see how people think about assigning colors to things.
Yeah. And it's just like assigning, this is just one of the many things that I feel like in day-to-day life we assign like colors to as well. Like I have like a whiteboard and I do different colors for different types of notes that I'm taking on the board. Like here's the list of groceries I need versus things I need to do. Oh, I love that. You know, and all of that kind of stuff. Or like this, you know, beyond I feel like the adult version or not the adult, like the grown up, like working version of having tabs for your notebooks is, you know, in an Excel doc, how do you like highlight stuff?
Totally.
You know, when you're making some kind of like spreadsheet, what are the colors? How are they highlighted? You know, like I do like meetings, I highlight in my like day to-do list as like a light yellow to highlight that their meetings. Or purple is like I put my therapy as purple for me. And like I list the days of the week in like a blue. Like it's just like I feel like those little oh my gosh. And red similarly like felt like an aggressive color, and that's how I felt about math, a little scared of it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
We've come full circle into color theory, which is one of Tumblr's favorite ongoing memes.
Oh my god.
But what about you? How has your last month on Tumblr been?
My last month on Tumblr has been great. I have been not on Tumblr a ton because I was traveling for a couple of weeks. I went on a fun little vacation to Barcelona and London, which was great.
That's awesome.
And then I immediately went on a work trip. So I haven't been scrolling the dashboard a lot, but there have been two things that have really taken over my last month on Tumblr, both from a work POV and just from like a fandom POV. The Umbrella Academy. I am sure no one is surprised to hear it. There were lots of takes, lots of opinions. Did a fun little answer time Q&A with the cast, which was fantastic. And definitely seeing a lot of like positive fandom response around like just like the cast. The fandom loves the cast. Yeah. And so that has been really wonderful to see, especially given, you know, some of the other discourse around the Umbrella Academy.
I am excited to dive into it because I haven't watched the final season yet, so I've been avoiding the tag, but I still have gotten a whiff of some discontent, to say the least.
Yes, folks have had some notes. Yeah, so that's definitely been interesting to see. And then in addition to that, which also has me in my feels, so I'll bring it up later for the feels corner, but I feel like it's also relevant for last month on Tumblr just because I feel like this is the most recent show I've like gotten like obsessed with and like been looking at kind of like the Tumblr conversation around it, is My Lady Jane, which thank you very much for getting me into it. And I was distraught to see that it was not renewed for a second season, and I'm not giving up, Lauren.
Heartbreaking.
I want this show to be renewed, and I feel like we can do a Save My Lady Jane campaign.
Please. I mean, I'm completely with you. I think it's such a shame. I saw that news today, and it's just like, yeah, that show had so many more legs to it. You know, it's like I thought it was delightful. It's such a bummer.
I completely agree. And I think there's just, I mean, this is, you know, a wider conversation or a larger conversation that we can have. But I just think more time needs to be given to shows to get a following. I mean, back in the day when, you know, most shows were on network TV and cable, they were airing weekly. So My Lady Jane would have had 2+ months to get, you know, a following and conversation around it. Like when you drop in like a new show with 8 episodes and just give it, you know, a month to really get its footing before deciding to cancel it or not. I don't think it's enough time to really give fans a chance to sink their teeth into it. There's other stuff going on. There's other, you know, things people are watching. And then, you know, I think shows on streaming, especially for season 1, need a good 3 to 6 months to establish a fan base before you can say that, hey, the show is not connecting.
Absolutely. And I think that from, you know, sort of Hollywood writ large, like there's this feeling, there's this real desire to have the next big hit thing and to, you know, so often you're in meetings with people and they're like, oh, well, you know, the success of such and such shows that you know, we need more stories about this type of thing. And I think that, you know, sometimes the wrong lessons are taken away from that. But I think the biggest thing within that is that oftentimes, you know, I'll be in a meeting with someone or I'll hear from a friend about a conversation that they had with an exec of some kind. And there's this idea that whatever successful show, whatever really rabid fandom that is sort of taking over the discourse around culture is instantaneous, right? And like, and almost always the thing that happened is that, like, for instance, like The Bear, right? Like The Bear is such a huge cultural phenomenon. And like, it didn't really become the thing that people were talking about until that episode that was one take in season 1, which is like episode 6 or 7. Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And I, you know, I had been hearing about it from like a couple of people that I like whose newsletters I read because they're like, you know, people who are in TV and stuff and were really enjoying watching it week to week. But like the culture writ large wasn't talking about it until the show had been airing for 2 months. Right. Exactly. And it's like, but I think that from sort of Hollywood's perspective, it's like, oh, like this thing was such a surprise instant hit. And it's like, no, it's not like it all dropped on one weekend and became a huge thing. Like that hasn't really happened since Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things is sort of like I guess like Squid Game too, actually. I kind of just like dropped and then people became obsessed with it. But like that is the outlier, right? Like for the most part, any show that eventually gets really popular is one that was sort of like a little bit in obscurity until people found it. And they're just like, streaming sites just aren't giving people enough time to even find the things that are languishing in obscurity.
Exactly. And there's so much content, you know, it's it feels like the odds are already stacked against you to find, you know, the perfect show. I mean, how many shows that I'm sure you and I would both love have we just not heard of, you know, or never seen? And yeah, so like, I couldn't agree with you more. And I just think, I think of other shows like Yellow Jackets, where season 1, it really wasn't hitting till near the end of season 1. I feel like we were like at the penultimate episode when the viewers and the conversation really started streaming in. And even on Tumblr, I don't really think I saw much conversation around it until season 1 had wrapped and like season 2 was filming. And then people were going back, watching this entire show and then getting excited for this new season.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely have, you know, hoping it's not the end of the road for My Lady Jane.
Yes.
And I found like this post about it that described My Lady Jane as the best kind of fan fiction that you could make into a TV show.
Yes.
And it's just so, it's so good. It says, it's from user Dancin' Butterfly. And they said, here to report that My Lady Jane is just the best kind of fan fiction that you can make into a TV show. It's a shifter AU, arranged marriage, friends to lovers, 100K slow burn, canon major character death, fix it fic, but with a big budget and a soundtrack and excellent costumes where everyone committed to the bit. I do recommend.
That is such a good description. Oh my God.
It's so good. And it's just like, it's such a great, fun show in so many different ways. I am also partially convinced it's Shrek fanfic. I mean, they did.
Oh my God, you're not wrong.
Right?
Amazing.
I don't think it's the end of the road for My Lady Jane. I think, you know, there's some hope yet.
For sure. I mean, yeah, from your lips to God's ears, like I would love a second season. Well, and I mean, on the subject of art that built a fandom, like because it was released over a significant period of time, that has been very much my impression of our main topic today, Dungeon Meshi. And Cher, I'm curious, like what your first encounter with Dungeon Meshi was and like what you thought it was, because I have my thoughts.
My first encounter with Dungeon Meshi was seeing it on our fandom list, like it's consistently been in Week in Review, one of the most talked about, you know, like topics on Tumblr for the past few months. So I have been seeing it pop up, even, you know, reblogged, like hopped into the tag, reblogged some stuff to Entertainment. Did not, though, which is embarrassing to admit, did not like dive in and research exactly what it was. So this is my assumption of what Dungeon Meshi is based on what I've seen. A manga turned anime series about a ragtag group of elves, dwarves, a human and a part human, part dragon chicken trapped in a dungeon and or trying to rescue someone trapped in a dungeon. There's magic, there's romance, and there's potentially no main character.
I think that seems pretty accurate to me from what, yeah. So I guess like we should say neither of us have read or seen Dungeon Meshi. We both have been like curious about what it is. So I feel like I have been seeing one of the main characters, because yeah, you're right. It's like there might not be a main character. There's sort of like a ragtag gang of these mixed species people. But one of them is, and you know, who knows if I'm going to pronounce any of this right, Leos.
Yes.
And he is this blonde guy who is wearing like classic medieval armor, who, as far as I can tell, is an autistic cryptozoologist who's maybe also eating the monsters. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But I feel like I've been seeing the frames, what are they called? Panels. I feel like I've been seeing panels from the manga of his face for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that can't, to me, Dungeon Meshi is something that a few years ago I started seeing this man's face because he has like lots of expressions that are like very like meme reaction expressions. And I like would see these panels, and like sometimes it would be without any context. It would just be a reaction image, and sometimes it would be about Dungeon Meshi. And I just like thought it was like a web comic. Like not just a web comic. Web comics are amazing, but like I thought that it was like a short little web comic that like people took reaction images from, and then like there was a small fandom, but the reaction images sort of like were bigger than the fandom itself.
Yeah.
And then in my head, in my experience, there was an actual like anime TV show that premiered a couple months ago that then all of a sudden like made the whole property very popular. And so like as a result, I don't know if the manga is still going or not, because I'm like, this thing feels like it's been around for a really long time, but I thought it was just a small thing in the beginning, but it turns out actually it's been releasing this whole time. And now there's this anime, but I don't know if the manga's still going on. And also somehow it's about recipes and it's about cooking.
Yeah, there is a character who feeds, like Senshi, a character who will definitely remind you to eat and always has food and lots of opinions around food. I've noticed that. And also, yeah, I think that perhaps a recent edition, like maybe the 23rd edition of this story or like chapter was recently released, the manga itself. So there's a lot of people are now like binge reading all of the manga after watching the first season of the anime. And same as you, I don't know if it's now finished or if it's just, you know, the most recent chapter has ended and now people are waiting for now season 2 and the next, you know, part of the manga as well.
Right.
How did you approach researching Dungeon Meshi for this episode without looking up exactly what Dungeon Meshi is? Because we are going to do that together at some point in this episode.
way back in the day, I used to do a YouTube series called According to Tumblr, where I would look into a Tumblr tag and try to explain what a thing was based on the Tumblr tag. So I just did that. Like I just went into the Tumblr tag and scrolled through a bunch of posts and like added that on top of like what I had already organically gleaned. And yeah, it's this found family story about these, I want to say 7 characters. The manga is created by someone named Ryoko Kui, who the fandom seemed to love. She seems very cool. And the 6 characters are, as I mentioned, Leos, who, as far as I can tell, is like going through this dungeon to find monsters, to understand them. Like I can't tell if he's canonically autistic or if the fandom just headcanons him as autistic, but like monsters are his hyperfixation and he wants to understand them, which also involves perhaps eating them. And then, Senshi is like this older guy who's taking care of the whole sort of ragtag gang and also maybe cooking a lot. And recipes seem to be like a significant part of the manga, or like at least like the food that they're making is like a significant part of what happens in the manga. And then Leos has a sister named Fallon, and there's another girl, Marcille, who's in love with Fallon, and Fallon is, as you said, a large a chicken, essentially, like shape-shifting chicken. And then there's Chilchuck, who is a young boy who's a divorced dad of 4. Like he like looks like a young boy, but he is a dad. And then there's Kubru, who I couldn't quite get a read on, but people ship with Leos. And then there's Izutsumi, who is a cat girl and may now actually just be a straight up cat, because I think all of them somehow got transformed recently. And beyond that, beyond like the characters, I could not figure out what actually happens in this story. I could not tell you the genre of this thing if I had a gun to my head. So yeah, where did you end up?
Very similar journey to you, Lauren. I kind of wrote out, I liked a bunch of Dungeon Meshi posts, all of which I will reblog to the Dashboard Diaries. Tumblr
Excellent.
As kind of a visualization of the journey that I went on researching for this episode. But yeah, I wrote out the characters. Marcille, an elf. Fallon may or may not be part dragon or bird. Gets resurrected potentially. Yes. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
I definitely got a necromancy vibe going on.
Yeah, definitely a little. So there's definitely there's magic for sure and romance, and it's like kind of I feel like I'm getting kind of like medieval setting vibes.
Yeah.
Like maybe like Lord of the Rings adjacent in terms of setting and species, or like types of characters that are involved,
a D&D
and like
kind of setting.
Yeah. And yeah, for Chilchuck, I wrote little hipster dude smokes a pipe. For Senshi, I just wrote will remind you to eat. And for Kobru, I also could not get a read. It's one of the bullet points that there is Kobru in the story. And one of the top tags was delicious in dungeon. Is this an addition? Is this a segment of the story that is popular? I'm not sure, but I saw a lot of things also tagged delicious in dungeon, which I guess ties in with the food angle. Is there like an entire food focused sub story involved? Is Delicious in Dungeon a recipe book that is also a story, kind of like, a food blog, if you will?
I have a theory about what Delicious in Dungeon is.
I would love to hear it.
I think it's the English translation of Dungeon Meshi.
Oh,
I think it's like the English title.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think
though.
That makes sense.
Like but if that's the case, then like is the story them finding ingredients in this dungeon and making meals? Because that's kind of what I feel like and then also like romance and necromancy, like
necromancy.
I don't know. Should we look up what this actually is?
Yes,
together?
I think that's a logical next step. And also that makes so much sense for why one of the posts about this I liked was a fan art done in the style of the Hungry Caterpillar, or the Very Hungry Caterpillar, but it's one of the characters. It's Laos, and it says the Very Hungry Adventurer.
That's very good.
And yeah, a lot of the things. Okay, I also liked a post that said final chapter delicious in dungeon, and it appears to be all the characters around at a feast.
Interesting. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is like an installment or like a subplot of the thing. And
the tag is volume 14, chapter 97.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my.
How long is this thing? How long has it been running?
It's always been Dungeon Meshi. The dungeon was here before we were. Okay, yeah, let's look up Dungeon Meshi. Yep. So Delicious in Dungeon.
Aha.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Oh,
so,
but
Dungeon Meal.
Dungeon Meal is okay. So Meshi's meal, but for some reason the English version is Delicious in Dungeon.
This is such a journey. We're gonna have to watch this anime now.
Oh my god! It was serialized in the manga magazine Harta from February 2014.
Wow.
To September 2023. Okay, so it seems like it is over now, but it ran for 9 years.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And that makes sense why there were so many different volumes of it, like, and chapters. Wow. Which means there's so much subject matter for the series, for the animated series, which is called Delicious in Dungeon and is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Premiered in January. Again, so this started, it's a Japanese, it's in Japanese. It's a Japanese series, premiered in January 4th of this year. So it's really been kicking off since the beginning series came out, being introduced to new fans. And the existing fans are definitely having a lot of fun watching people discover the show and then read all of the source material.
Yeah.
This sounds like a great show. Also, where is the Dungeon Meshi associated cookbook or recipe book? I'm sure it exists.
Truly.
I bet it does.
I did like a post that I'm going to reblog that somebody did a Dungeon Meshi themed party at their house and they made a bunch of food from it. It's awesome. Should one of us read the summary on the Wikipedia plot to find out what actually happens?
In a fantasy world of dungeon exploration, adventuring parties set out on expeditions to raid dungeons, with many hoping to find the mysterious Golden Kingdom, which is said to be the treasure of an island dungeon. The story begins as a group of adventurers unsuccessfully attempt to slay a red dragon and are forced to escape as it consumes the leader's sister, Fallen Tudin, a tall man, parentheses, human spellcaster. Wanting to rescue Fallen, who used magic to teleport them to safety, the remaining members of the party, Leos Tudin, a Tallman swordsman, Chilchuck Timms, a halfling locksmith, and Marcel Donato, an elven spellcaster, brainstorm how to get back to the dungeon level with the dragon in time to save Fallen from digestion. With most of their supplies left behind in the dungeon, their mission seems impossible until Leos, who secretly wants to eat dungeon monsters, suggests they sustain themselves by finding food inside. To which Chilchuck and Marcel reluctantly agree. Inside, they encounter Senshi, a dwarf with many years of experience surviving in the dungeon by cooking monsters and harvesting food. The story details their travels through the dungeon, the environments, traps, and monsters they encounter, and the meals they create. This is incredible.
Outstanding. I love that Laos is like, this is his secret, that he just he's down here to eat dungeon monsters. That's amazing.
He's like, finally, my time has arrived. Like, hey guys, we can just probably find food in there. I don't know, just throwing it out there. I don't know, it could work.
Let's rescue my sister and stuff, but let's try to find some food.
Just don't forget the salt. That is hilarious and incredible. I cannot wait to watch this show. We're definitely gonna have to watch a couple episodes at least before our next episode. I also found this post about it that I feel like really sums it up, and by I feel like take that with the hugest grain of salt, given that as our listeners and I have no idea what I'm talking about. This post is from The Stuffed Alligator, and they said, I'm loving Dungeon Meshi's mix of quasi-probable speculative magical biology and it's magic, fuck you. Red dragons swallow their prey whole and use the undigestible remains as fuel for their fire breath, which is lit by creating a spark with their tongue. Living armors are colonies of mollusks who expand and contract to mimic muscle movement. Actually, man-eating plants is a misnomer. They catch small animals with a filament that retracts when touched, and they use their decomposing prey as compost. These mushrooms can turn you into a gnome. It's magic. Fuck you. Excellent.
I love that. That sounds like a great magic system to me.
Yeah, I the rules do not all need to make sense. It's actually a little better when they don't.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say is sort of your biggest takeaway from the fandom in terms of what people love about this manga/anime?
I think people love and really connect with Senshi and the nurturing, providing food kind of aspect of it. I have really noticed as a theme throughout the fandom. I also just think, in the same way that, earlier in the episode, I read the post about My Lady Jane and how it has so many excellent elements of fan fiction and just all of kind of some of fandom favorite things tied up into one. I think Dungeon Meshi seems to really have the kind of same elements. It has, this found family component, this adventure component, this group of characters that all have such specific personality traits, especially the one who just was there to eat the dragons or there to eat the monsters. Very much it's giving, I feel like you're just here for the zipline vibes. Which I think, Tumblr users really connect with. And people, it seems that people are quite thirsty for Laios and Marcel, and again, I'm assuming Fallen because it's Tumblr. So yeah. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of thirst happening. It's good to know that Marcel and Laios are brother and sister, because I was gonna say that I thought that they were being Fallen. Excuse me. Fallen and Laios are brother and sister. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because Marcel and Laios, are they shipped?
I don't know. I couldn't. I mean. It's Tumblr. Everything is shipped by somebody, right? But I as far as I could tell, I think Marcel and Fallon is a canon ship. I got the impression that those two were together, but maybe that's just because a lot of people were really shipping them. But I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. And what are your takeaways from Dungeon Meshi so far and the glimpse of the fandom that you have had?
I mean, I think the same, right? Like, I think that the found family thing, the sort of the nurturing, like, even in the midst of danger and darkness, like, you still making time to make a meal and, like, share it with people that you love, like, that just being such a lovely sentiment. And then, like, people being thirsty for, I mean, I saw thirst for all of the characters. I saw plenty of thirst for Senshi, and saw people shipping Senshi and Chilchuk, which at first I was like, Chilchuk seems like he's 12 years old. Like, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but, like, no, apparently he's a grown man. I think it might be a Fives from Umbrella Academy situation.
Got it. Which,
where he's like, because, like, as far as I can tell, like, he legitimately is a father. I'm not entirely sure, but, like, I got that impression. And I think just, like, also, people relating to, like, the specificity of the characters and sort of, like, them all having these weird little quirks that people can relate to and that people really like, and it just being, like, a fun found family romp, which we all love. It's a Tumblr favorite.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. It feels like it checks every essential Tumblr fandom box.
Totally.
So with that journey through the dungeon, should we journey back into our archives for Dashboard Confessionals, aka Dungeon Confessionals today?
Dungeon Confessionals does sound like something slightly different.
Definitely sounds something a little more ominous.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll keep it Dashboard Confessionals. Keep the dungeon over with Meshi.
Exactly. Okay, so I just have one post today because I think it's an all-timer. This is a post that I reblogged in 2017. I have no idea when the post was originally made because the original poster, Truckhole, has deactivated, and it looks like they deactivated in 2018. So, I mean, who knows?
We miss Truckhole so much.
So much.
There's a Truckhole-sized hole in our heart.
Absolutely. So, Truckhole posts, God, today I ID'd an old dude buying booze, and he pulled out a fake ID with an Elvis pic, then laughed and pulled out a matching one, but with Curly from Three Stooges on it. And I'm like, okay, please. And he finally pulled out his real license, and his legal name was Steve Sinner. And then someone reblogged that and said that was the devil.
Like, literally was.
This is just like one of those posts where it's like the story, like, I have no idea. This is probably not true, right? Like, this probably did not happen to somebody. But also, like, working customer service jobs, like, this kind of shit does happen, right? And
Absolutely.
I love the idea of this, like, impish old dude having two fake IDs, and then his real name is Steve Sinner. Just brings me a lot of joy.
Is this just Lucifer fanfic?
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible. It makes me want to have a secondary fake ID.
Absolutely. Just for the bit, you got to commit to the bit.
Commit to the bit.
What about you, Cher? What do you have today?
So I saved two posts, or I dropped in two posts. Couldn't decide between the two.
Incredible.
They're both chaotic in different but the same way. Both I reblogged in 2016. And the first one is from, I cannot read the Mixotacon. MGSOTACON. Mixotacon.
Sure.
Posted it. And it's a screenshot of what looks like a Tumblr post or a screenshot of a fake Tumblr post with a, like, tiny little dog that looks like kind of a like, what are the, like, whippets, or
whippet? Yeah,
like a little, it looks like a little whippet in a turtleneck with a pair of glasses on, and the caption on the screenshot is "for your consideration." And Mixtagon posted the screenshot and then below captioned it, "Okay, I will consider this."
It's very good.
And Emmy season is coming up, award season is coming up, so just wanted to submit this for consideration.
It is being considered.
It's being considered. And then the other post that I put in is from user Hello Taylor, and it's a fake ad that's has a photo of a spherical corn, like, and the caption or the image itself says, "New corn on the orb. It's round now."
This is exactly the kind of shit that I love. This is so good.
I feel like it's Dungeon Meshi canon.
Oh my God. Incredible. Also, I recognize the person your blog is from, Hello Taylor, because they are a co-editor of the Rec Center, which is a wonderful newsletter for fanfic recs.
Oh,
so
my
they're
gosh.
Tumblr famous to me.
Oh my God, incredible. Well, they have
corn
taste.
on the orb.
Corn on the orb. It's round now.
It's round now. This is my favorite post.
Corb is part of a balanced diet. It is no longer the food pyramid. It is just the corb.
It's just corb.
Other than the corb, Lauren, what has you in your feels corber?
Oh my God. Oh God, that was good. In my feels corber. So by the time this episode comes out, Evil, the TV show on CBS and now Paramount Plus, will be over. The finale is on Thursday. This is a show that, yeah, I've been watching week to week since, like, I think season 2 is when we sort of got onto it and watched the first season. And it's all on Netflix now. You absolutely should watch it. And it has unfortunately been canceled. And this show is just so good. I think I probably talked about it on here before, but it just, like, we do not have, even now, in this year of our Lord 2024, we do not have enough, like, truly unhinged women as lead characters in shows. And Kristen Bouchard, the lead character of Evil, is like a disaster of a human being, perfect angel baby. I love her so much. And she helps this priest and this scientist exorcise demons, basically, for the Catholic Church. And the three of them are OT3 to end all OT3s for me. I want them to move in together on Thursday's finale. And I'm just like, I'm really on a more like slightly more serious, earnest note. Like, I genuinely am very sad to see this show go. It's made by the Kings, this married couple that made The Good Wife and The Good Fight, and have been making, just like great dramas for a really long time. And I read a really interesting interview with them in, I think, The Hollywood Reporter a couple of weeks ago. The interview's a little bit older than that, but about sort of the cancellation and kind of, how they were feeling about it. And these are two people who have been in TV for decades, and to hear them talk about things like, they've also been having a hard time kind of like selling stuff or keeping stuff alive or moving things forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, Evil just represents a particular era of television sensibility that is, like, slowly disappearing from our screens. And obviously there's a lot of absolutely incredible television being made right now, right? Like The Bear, Severance, like stuff that, like, is like breaking what TV can be. But also there's something to be said for, like, the monster of the week, like expertly plotted, incredibly well-paced drama, right? And like, and we just, like, we don't, like, have those things quite as much anymore. And I think that, like, Evil sort of represents some of the best of that kind of writing. And so I'm just really sad to see it go, because I think that, like, those shows are becoming fewer and further between. And I think that Evil was, like, just an incredibly strong showing of that kind of TV.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's sad to see kind of the distinct shift in the industry that we've seen over the past few years. I mean, going back to as well, like My Lady Jane, this great show that just premiered, everyone got attached to and then was canceled. Evil, which is a procedural that's been running for quite a few seasons now. How many seasons has it had?
This is the 4th, and they're each 13 episodes. Season? So, it's like, yeah.
Like Evil, again, I've only seen a few episodes of Evil, and I feel like it's very much my kind of show. I need to dive in.
Yes, totally.
But it feels like it's the type of show that could fill the void that Supernatural left.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's, as a lot of these great shows are being canceled, and again, there's such great prestige television, but I think there's a big difference between, these shows that have such short seasons because they're almost like every episode is like a film versus these, procedurals where, as you said, they're really well plotted out, but there's longer seasons. They go on for years. They're kind of like, they become these like comfort shows and these stories that you get enmeshed in. You have the overarching story, but you have like the fun, like you can dive in at any point and still enjoy the episode and kind of catch up on the lore quite quickly type, and I have also been wondering what does this recalibration mean? What is next for like the television and, entertainment industry as a whole when it comes to the titles that are getting made and invested in and watched and loved, because I feel like we're kind of seeing a similar thing in, film, where so many, movie theaters used to be kept alive by, these lower budget, rom-coms or like smaller films that were consistently coming out. And then there were, a few, obviously every year, those huge blockbusters and the award bait ones. But now it feels like all those kinds of in-between titles that generally are what you spend a lot of your time watching, just because a lot of like this prestige television, by nature of it, like there's longer times between seasons, the seasons are shorter, are kind of disappearing. And I feel like we've definitely come to this place where you're sitting here like, there's got to be a new season of one of my shows coming out. What is it? And it kind of feels a little empty despite being so oversaturated as a market.
I completely agree. It's funny. I had the thought the other day, like 911 behind the scenes content has started to kick up on Tumblr because they're filming actively. And I was like, as Seattle starts to get some more storms and be a little bit grayer and cooling off a little bit more, and you can kind of feel fall coming slowly on the air. It's sort of like, goodbye to summer. And then I sort of had the thought of like, ooh, but that means that 911 comes back soon, because 911 kicks up sometime September, October. It runs for 9 episodes. It takes a mid-season hiatus. It comes back February, March, runs for another 9 episodes, takes the summer off. It's a TV show. And I when I had that thought, I was like, man, I remember that, and not to get like too serious about things, but like, I remember being a teenager, and like I did not have the best time in middle and high school, as I think I've mentioned before. And like, so sort of going back to school was always like a very complicated time for me. And like, but the thing that would always usher in is like, but I get all my stories back. And like, now I can get into the rhythm of the year with these stories that are happening week to week. And it sort of like keeps things moving forward in a really nice way. And like, obviously, it's like, you should not base your mental health around like the ability to watch a TV show. Like, we all like get through our teenage years as best we can. But like, I don't know. I really think that we're losing something in losing that. Like, I think that having a rhythm to the year should not be underappreciated. And I think that the TV gave us that for a while, in a really positive way. And like, I realize that some of this is just like nostalgia of like the time when specifically we were young, but like, I do think it was good. And so anyway, I clearly have a lot of feels about this. And as do you, but what else has you in your feels this week?
I mean, pretty much I covered it with my Lady Jane, and also like, I very much like binge all of that, have a lot of thoughts about it. This is something that I think is less a show or series that like hits within the Tumblr fan base or Tumblr fandom, but I am obsessed with it. And I've definitely talked about my love for like dating reality shows before. There was a UK season of Love is Blind. The first UK season. And I binge watched it this past weekend.
Nice.
And it is so good. Like, as, again, in the context of these, dating, reality dating shows, I feel like Love is Blind is one of the ones that feels pretty real as they go. Yeah. Generally, like the first few seasons, cast members like were, I think, as young as like 23. And especially for a show where you get engaged and married at the end of it, it feels, I feel like when you're 23, that can feel like a lot. And this season, the cast members are between the ages of, I think, 27 and 41. And I noticed such a distinct difference in the way that people, the couples panned out. And it's already, there's already some great like mess. Of course, it's still a reality show. But there's also just like some really sweet, like earnest moments, and just what feels like real people finding connection in, like this kind of unlikely place, though likely place. But it, is very, it was, I don't know, a very sweet season. There was a lot of good, like intros of families, and it just felt like I was, watching an actual reality show that, felt a little bit more like, I also watch Love Island, and I am not watching it to see who falls in love. Right.
Yeah, totally. But that's really nice.
Yeah, it was really sweet. And so, the think the weddings episode is this Wednesday, the 21st.
Ooh.
So we'll see who's getting married. So I'm definitely excited about that. And also one of the funny things about, these types of like reality shows where there's like, they're featuring a few couples. The couples who get the least airtime tend to be the ones who are the strongest. And
that
there
makes
is one couple
sense.
who got engaged pretty much immediately. Like they were the first engaged couple and they have gotten no airtime, and all the discourse online is like, what's happening with these two characters, or these two people, and the replies are like, they're picking out China patterns, like they're locked in, like they're in.
Yeah, they're gonna be married for the next 5 decades. Like,
yep, exactly. So it was
awesome.
really sweet to the season. It felt like season 1 of Love Is Blind, actually, which similarly was a show that very much like there's a couple like couples from it that are still together, and it's just very pure, like, oh, look at these people finding their person or someone they connect with in this ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
So that very much has me in my feels. And then the answer time that I got to do with the cast of The Umbrella Academy, which is a show I really like, and a cast I really enjoy, was one of the most chaotic interviews of my life in the best possible way. It was so good. I will reblog a couple posts to the Dashboard Diaries Tumblr to highlight. So a couple of my favorite moments. One of the questions was, what is something that you learned from your character? And Justin H. Min said that he learned the meaning of the word taint.
He said that in an interview.
He said that in an interview, and then it was about a good 30 seconds of Justin, Elliot, and David saying taint in different phrases.
Oh my God. Well, you were not kidding.
It is so much.
That's so good.
The answer ends with David going, "That's Rimmon," and Justin goes, "No."
Oh, I can't wait to watch this.
So that is just one. Or my other favorite one was also just David and Justin, really. I mean, everyone in this interview. It was so funny in so many ways. But there was another question where it was, if you had the powers of your character, would you want to keep them? And David said, "Oh, 100%." And Justin asked, "Oh, really? The knives?" And David goes, "Yeah, for cooking." and David's like, or Justin was like, "Just because you're good with knives doesn't mean you're good at cooking."
Right.
And David was like, "You can chop a lot of stuff." Like, duh. Like, it's just yeah, and just a beautifully chaotic interview, chaotic said in the most affectionate and positive possible way.
That's amazing.
And so yeah, we'll send some moments from it to you. I am so glad that I was able to publish this interview.
I cannot wait to watch these. It sounds amazing.
And with that, I'm Cher McAnelly, and you can find me at theovershares.tumblr.com.
I'm Lauren Shippen, and you can find me at thelauren.tumblr.com.
This has been Dashboard Diaries, and
may your anons always be loving,
your dash always refreshed,
your gifts always be loading,
and your ships always canon.
May the fixer reading always be finished,
and the answers you seek always in the reblogs.
Thanks for scrolling with us.